Hi everybody, welcome back to 30 Days Until Done. I'm not sure what happened to the end of May. It just kind of disappeared, so I might be refilming it, or maybe I can find it someplace. I've deleted it off my camera, so I don't know. I'm gonna try to replace it at some point. Okay, so we're into June. And June, what we're doing for June is if you've never been on 30 Days Until Done, and I know some of you are new because you're going to be my students this summer, and I hope you went back to the June 1st one. I'll contact you in a couple of days. If you've never been on 30 Days Until Done, what it is we're trying to get out of the idea of writing the individual poem. I always tell my students, you've got to write, if you want to be a writer, you've got to write every day so that all of your ideas are filtered through the consciousness of a writer, right? And that's what the muse is you get ideas by always writing. Most of the time what you're thinking about the rest of the time is writing, right? And so that primes your muse. It does it even more so if you write from the idea of a collection. So if you're a poet, and you're writing from the idea of a collection, your muse is primed in two ways. Like I've been writing about water in California because I'm a California writer, and water's a big deal. And so, anytime I see anything, both of those things are triggered, right? So the first thing is, okay, so I'm a writer, how can I move this into writing? And I don't stop and think about this, it just happens because I write all the time. The second thing though is, how does this relate to water? And you'd be surprised how much it does. So you see a person crossing the road and steps over a stream. I just wrote this poem, and I realized that the water beneath them on the gutter is just this temporary stream, but the person is too, right? It's the water coursing through the person at all moments, all throughout this person's life. The water comes and goes. The person is just a moving stream, right? And that's not on its face. It's not if you were just to look at that person, you wouldn't come up with the idea unless you'd been writing poem after poem after poem about water, right? And I don't know if I haven't had enough time to know if the poem works or not. Maybe it does, maybe it doesn't. But now I've got this thing that's always kind of eating at me, something that I can write. It's like, oh, that's my poem for tomorrow, or that's what I'm going to work on. Maybe I have to sit down right now and write it, right? Because my consciousness is full of this. That's what 30 Days Until Done is. And we're going to work every month on a new idea and trying to get this idea. And so this month is going to be our month of bliss, right? Because we searched the unconscious, and some of those at the end of the month that aren't there anymore, were pretty rough and kind of emotionally raw. And so the idea behind this was to find our bliss, because for a couple of reasons. First of all, because those were emotionally raw. But second of all, because my wife and I are moving up into Sequoia and Kings Canyon for the summer. We're going to be living in a tent, which is my favorite thing ever. And we're going to be living as a part of a biosphere, not as tourists in a biosphere. So me, this is bliss, right? And you pick up the rhythms of the forest. You become a part of those rhythms as well, right? As opposed to if you just drive through, it's like, oh wow, that looks really. You really become a living, breathing part of the forest. As much as a tree, as much as an animal is, and so that's just blissful for me. Okay, and what I've just described is my adventure towards bliss, heading towards my bliss through adventure, right? What does that look for you? That's your poem prompt for today. What is your adventure towards bliss, right? And so that's not the same thing for every single person. It's not the same thing for every person throughout their entire life either. I'm talking about going into the forest to find my bliss. I did the same thing by going to London. I like to travel a lot. By going to London, I found my bliss in London. How else did I find my bliss? I found my bliss by going into books a number of times, right? Because I like reading. I found my bliss by getting jobs. This job I have now, I love, being a teacher. I found my bliss by, sometimes it's the adventure was going to someplace where I didn't think I really belonged, like the mall. I just don't belong in a mall. I'm not very good at it, but it's kind of a fun adventure sometimes. Sometimes it's just terrible. Or what other kind of adventure? You can do an emotional adventure, right? Falling in love again, that sort of thing. Or whatever it's going to be. Okay, so when you've got it, when you're done with it, post down below, and I'll see you tomorrow, 30 Days Until Done.